Life is Good. I'm Heather McEwen, your ever-loving hostess, and guess who we have today?
He rocks in the treetop all the day long, hopping and a bopping and a singing his song. All the little birds on Jaybird Street love to hear the robin go tweet, tweet, tweet. Rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet, rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet. Blow rockin' Robin, 'cause we really gonna rock tonight.
We always have exciting guests, but the best ones are these artists who they live in West Charleston, and this is Jack Griffin, and he's a phenomenal artist, and some of you know him because he's also a teacher, but he does art to support his teaching habit the way that the budgets have been closed right now. But you are quite a successful artist.
I've had some success.
Yes, some. He's very modest, but he showed big time out of state in Michigan.
In Michigan, yeah, and I've showed in a few galleries in Detroit.
Yeah, and that's pretty good. Did you come here directly from Detroit?
No, I was most recently living in Brooklyn, New York.
I love
before
Brooklyn.
I came here. Brooklyn's cool.
Yeah.
Harder to show there than Detroit.
Well, it's
yeah.
not only competition, but they don't have a lot of galleries in Brooklyn. They have little shops and stuff.
Yeah, there are galleries. It's harder. There's less of like a culture of open calls. Like in Detroit, you could galleries would put out open calls, and any local artist could submit things, whether or not you knew the people running the gallery, and you had a good chance of getting in. In my experience, that's not as much the case in Brooklyn. It's more of a who do you know kind of situation. But I did have a bit of luck where made a number of paintings there that were too big to take with me, and I ended up leaving them on the street. And that most of them got picked up by strangers.
And it's bought?
Not bought, free.
But just appreciated.
Yeah, appreciated, exactly.
Well, that's nice, but you have sold big time. So.
I have sold big time.
And the problem with artists is we don't know each other. A lot of us are just cloistered. And we love working so much that we have a tough time putting a price on things because we want our friends to have our work.
True. I am always giving them away.
Yeah, and we go through that stage. Now, I'm old.
Yeah.
I have been through that stage.
Yeah.
So forget it.
Yeah.
Social Security is probably going to get cut out.
Probably.
So I have to sell.
Yeah.
And the difference between you and I is about 50 years. So I mean, I don't have a lot of time left to sell. So after I'm gone, maybe they'll be worth something for my children, but you never know.
You never know.
But you got to get your name out there.
True. Yeah.
Now, this is what we're going to do with Life is Good. We'd like to get Jack Griffin's name out there. Now, you'll see this on YouTube and you'll see this locally in Newport, Vermont. But when we have a gem like this in our area, by God, you're good for all of us.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, so we appreciate you. Now, what got you started? Because...
Well, that's a good question. What got me started? I mean, I've always kind of liked doodling growing up, but I never really made paintings with any sort of purpose before I was in the Peace Corps, actually, when I started making pictures. It was... I always had a desire to be a writer, actually. That was my
everybody's got a book in here. They just have to write it.
Exactly. It's hard to get out. And I had this thought that maybe if I were to go live in a small village on the other side of the world...
West Charleston.
Well, no, I'm actually talking about...
I know.
There were reoccurring patterns, so...
I know.
Yeah. I thought maybe, left to my own devices finally would come out if I didn't have all the distractions. But... when I found myself there, sort of staring at the empty page, I didn't have the words flowing, and I just started drawing pictures to fill up the pages, and it was a lot more fun. It came more easily, and it was more enjoyable. And so I started with just sort of doing doodles in my journal rather than writing, and then I started doodling on cardboard and covered my room in Kyrgyzstan and in all these little doodles. Kyrgyzstan in Central Asia, and so it's
nowhere near Burlington.
Nowhere near Burlington,
Thank
other
God.
side of the world. Yeah, nearer to Beijing than Burlington.
You say you were Peace Corps, and that talks to me a lot about the artist's soul and the freedom of movement.
Totally, yeah.
What were you doing with the natives that you were helping?
I was working in a local school as an English teacher, teaching English as a foreign language. Like we might study French or Spanish in the United States. They were studying
ESL?
English, yeah, ESL. Well, not ESL, because it's English as a foreign language, not necessarily as a second language. Everyone in Kyrgyzstan.
I get it.
Yeah. So everyone in Kyrgyzstan already speaks 2 or 3 languages.
As well they should.
Yeah,
as well we should.
Yeah. They Kyrgyz and Russian, of course, and then a lot of people speak Uzbek or Kazakh or Tajik.
Did you learn
as
any?
well. I could speak Kyrgyz pretty well, and I know some Russian as well. Yeah.
What would you tell Putin in Russia today?
I mean, that's a complicated issue, isn't it?
That's why artists stick together.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily have to voice our opinion, but we can certainly put it onto the page.
Yeah.
Would you like to show me one of your pages now?
I would love to show you one of my pages.
I'm going to get behind the camera.
Okay.
Lucky you.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
going
yeah.
behind the camera. Because I have to focus on this beautiful work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so much fun.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I have a lot of fun making it. This is a painting I did recently. We had a winter break not too long ago at the school, and so I had a lot of free time. I made a number of paintings over the last couple of weeks. This one is part of a series I was doing on diners. Diners is from different sort of perspectives, and this is my favorite one that came out. I feel like a lot of my paintings end up sort of being landscapes of wherever it is that I'm living at the time. And so this feels to me like very much like a rural Vermont landscape, diner in the rolling hills.
You can smell the coffee in it. You can smell the
Exactly.
eggs cooking.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
just love diners also.
I feel like, yeah.
It's 24/7 diner open. 24/7. It's like 7-Eleven, but
Totally, yeah. 24/7 diner. They've got food. They've got parking in the middle of nowhere. Kind of like an oasis. Kind of like a mirage. Totally like a symbol of Americana. Maybe a false symbol. Maybe a false memory.
An original symbol.
No doubt an original symbol, but do things exist in this way anymore is the question.
Speaking to an artist, you know that if they exist in our mind, they exist somewhere in reality.
No doubt.
And this could be someone's reality because it's so folksy and so lovely, and the colors are so vivid.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the perspective. If you turn it around, you
Yeah.
can show us how you make your own frames.
Totally, I do. I make my own frames from found materials. So this one made out of a bunch of sticks
And
I found in the woods. So here's another one. I forget what I called this one. What did I call it? Interior landscape number 1.
oh, I see what you mean by interior.
Yeah. So it's a room with the windows, but you also kind of have the hinting of the roof with the frame and everything. One of the things I like to paint are houses.
Inside and outside?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess like this is the room, but then the way that the frame kind of,
No, I mean interior.
yeah,
Interior design is looking out, and you see the Vermont landscape in the back.
you do, yeah.
I
It didn't
love-
quite look like this when I was painting, of course. This was, I think, kind of like wishful thinking. This was a few weeks ago when we were still pretty solidly snowed in, and I think I might have been dreaming of a green view outside.
Well, you've got it captured here.
Yeah,
But what I like is the perspective. Now,
It is an interesting perspective, yeah.
now Kelly was saying you're like Matisse, but he would envy you.
Oh, that's high praise to think that.
Understatement,
Yeah.
because I love this. Yeah, Kelly, you and your fiance here can come and decorate my home any old time.
Oh yeah, I mean Kelly is a great interior decorator, but
And
yeah, I
they're
really
happy
love.
pictures too.
I think that they do have a happiness to them, certainly. I like bright colors. I hang the paintings around my house, so it's nice to have some uplifting images. But I think there's some depth to them too. I do a lot of like layering. Like I'll paint a layer, and then Kelly will be like, "Oh, are you done?" I'm like, "No, I got a bunch."
You build onto it. So do I.
Over and over again. And so if you look closely, you'll
bend
notice.
over and look, because I want everyone to see how you
Yeah.
do this, because it's so
You'll
good.
notice that there are like little like strips of paper kind of layered into the canvas.
Is it multimedia?
It is multimedia. Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
I'm gonna go and check that.
Yeah, so you'll notice like here and here and here, and there's more and more layers. Some that are just completely painted over. And so what I'll do is I'll do like a sketch of what I want, and then I'll wheat paste a layer of book pages. This is sort of like it was 2 pieces of cardboard. I didn't
Yeah,
have
I
a
see
big enough
that.
piece, and so they're kind of layered over each other.
And this is definitely that it gave the
Yeah, totally.
optical illusion.
It does.
Because I
Yeah, it's
didn't
almost like it's coming
I
towards
did
you.
not
Yeah.
recognize that from afar. I
Yeah.
see it now.
So I mean, it's kind of like sculptural in a way.
It's structural.
Yeah, structural, sculptural, multimedia. Painting's a big part of it, but like I said, I have
sorry.
a lot of like my original passion was I was interested in writing, and one of my big inspirations was the Beats and William S. Burroughs with his cut-up method.
Yeah.
And going further back, they got that from like the Dadaists, right? And so one of the things I really enjoyed doing is actually it might be sacrilegious for an English teacher to say, but I like to cut up books. I'll take a book that I don't think anyone's ever going to read again for whatever reason.
Go ahead.
Fair enough. And I'll cut it up into little pieces, and I'll put it in a jar, and I'll take out the pieces at random, and I'll wheat paste them over my paintings, and they'll get layered in. And then you have these sort of like random phrases that'll pop out in the end that are unobstructed. And in that way, a book that I think no one would ever have read again is being read in a new way, in a new context, with some sort of new meaning.
Oh, you have to go meet Larry Bradley.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, the Nevermore, because I get a lot of books there.
Yeah.
That I can cut up.
Totally, yeah.
When I had a newspaper, I always put quotes.
Yeah, newspapers are good for this too.
Quotes, but newspaper itself doesn't it doesn't paste well.
Not as well.
But the quotes you can put in your newspaper. But this is great. I'd love to see one of the pictures that you've done with that genre, because that would fascinate me.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's some here, like, I only become more and...
I'm not wearing my glasses.
Yeah.
I only become more blind and...
Yeah.
But, oh, really? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I see the words, I can't read them, but they're there.
Yeah, there's a lot of little phrases that pop through.
Well, I love that.
Fall away, things go cold. Yeah. This one was from... What's it? They have a little,
I didn't notice because I'm not wearing my glasses. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And it takes thought.
It takes some thought. I intentionally, I don't think about the phrases that I put up. I pick it out randomly, and I kind of appreciate the serendipity of a good phrase coming through in the end without
You're
me
the best
thinking
interview
about it.
I've ever done. What a vocabulary. And he can read. I love you.
English teacher.
English teacher, I know. How do you inspire your students? Because it's a very difficult thing.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. It depends on the subject. It's really hard to convince someone of something that they don't believe, right? Like, the biggest issue I see these days is that knowledge isn't valued in the same way that it used to be, in large part because we have a generation of people who are coming up who have grown up their entire lives with
iPads.
With iPads, which what that means is that they have always been directly connected to essentially all human knowledge searchable at their fingertips, right? And so what that means is, why should I know anything when it's all accessible?
Why should I commit it to memory when I can look it up tomorrow?
Exactly, right? And so it's a weird situation we're in now where it's always kind of been hard to get kids to be like, oh, school is cool, let me try to learn this thing, I'm going to read this book, I'm going to learn this equation or whatever. But there's always, I think, an agreed upon understanding that knowledge was valuable. You needed to know things in the world. Whereas I don't think we have that, we don't agree on that anymore.
It's a glide path now. It's not a bumpy road, it's a glide path.
Yeah.
And I think that's very dangerous because it doesn't build up the muscle.
Yes, no doubt.
The intellectual muscle is fading, weakening.
Totally. I use that muscle analogy all the time with my students. They're like, why should I do this? Why should I read this book? Why should I write this essay?
It's good practice for your future.
Exactly. Your brain is a muscle in the same way that your arms and your legs and all the rest of your body is, right? When you do a push-up, you're not moving anything. You're not accomplishing any goal. You're just building your muscles. In the same way, when you're reading a book or writing an essay for school, you're building muscles, right? So that you are able to, use those muscles when you do need them to accomplish some sort of valuable task.
It's true. And if you suddenly have a cut into your internet,
doubt.
for 10 days, you won't know how to pick up a book. You won't know how to access that information or even the correct question to ask because you won't have the collected memory.
Absolutely.
Good for you. I'm glad you're a teacher.
Thank you.
I'm still in touch with two of my high school teachers. They're in their mid-90s.
Wow.
One was my history teacher in 10th grade, Mr. Paul P.H. Jones.
Okay.
Who got me into TV because I saw him do a commentary on the royal family.
Oh, yeah.
And royalty on a Montreal television station.
Oh, that's cool.
It was a 5-minute editorial. He's the first person I actually knew on TV.
Uh-huh.
And I was mid-teens, and I said, I want to do that someday.
Yeah,
I've never sounded anything like Mr. Jones, unfortunately, but I'm still in touch with him and my geography teacher. And it was an incredible experience to have the teachers who think like you do in my time, because they gave us the ladder to climb.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad I'm from that generation. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you're in yours because you're still holding that light out for the kiddies.
I'm trying my best.
You are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I bet some of them are really bright too.
Oh, a lot of them are. A lot of them are.
Yeah, don't you hate it when they know more than we do?
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, it's kind of fun.
It's thrilling.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I love this.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a heater?
Could be a heater. I was thinking bookcase.
Okay.
But it could be a heater. Open to interpretation.
That's another thing. These are all open to interpretation.
They are. They're sort of like, just sort of like symbols of things that we have, simplified versions of them.
Yeah, I see you have a TV there with the bunny ears.
Yeah.
That's nice. And a little
flower. Yeah.
Anyway, I find this fascinating. And the web page and the Instagram contact will be somewhere around here.
It'll be available.
If you are interested in seeing some of these in person and putting one in your home, people will come into your home and they'll look at this and they won't stop looking. Because
there's a lot to see.
There's a lot to see. And you can pick up any old Grand Master. And, my favorite era started with the Impressionists and I like Nouveau Art Nouveau, and things like that. And when I can look in and get a feeling that something's moving, or that somebody's living in that space, or there are really birds flying or beasts living, I get a love for that piece because I never get tired of looking because I always see something different. And this is fabulous.
I appreciate that.
I wish I had more wall space.
Yeah. I can make smaller ones.
Yeah. Oh.
I could.
I'll trade you.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'd be down for that.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll make a little one.
I'll make a little one for you.
Cool.
Mine won't be as pretty, but.
I don't know about that. I love your work too.
Do you?
I really do. Yeah. I remember when we walking down Main Street, Newport, that gallery. Which one is it? The show is called I'm Better Than Dirty Windows. Oh, yeah.
Because it was J.J. Newberry's store.
Okay.
The old store on
Yeah.
Main Street in Newport.
Yeah, I remember walking by and seeing all of your collage art on there and being like, oh, that's so cool. I would like to meet who made that.
Well, now you have.
Now
we're doing a trade, so I'll get some of this.
And I'll get some of yours. That'd be great.
And I can say I knew him when he was young and just starting out with his career in Vermont. Now that you've closed the door on Michigan.
More, yeah. I don't think I'll be living in Michigan again. Yeah, my family's still there. But
Are they big fans?
Yeah, my parents like my art. Yeah.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Why don't you go and get the first one you ever did?
Yeah.
And stay tuned, folks, because not only are we going to see the first painting that was ever accomplished by this young man.
I don't know if this is the first one, but it's an older one.
An older one.
Yeah.
We're going to go over to another part of this house, which is 960 square feet, so it's right there.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to do some work together, and we're going to learn how to do this.
Totally.
From this Grandmaster.
So,
there's a hole in this.
For example, for an older one, this is one I made.
What did you use?
This is some sort of piece of metal. So
that's part of a shelf.
Something like that. So I like to make my own canvases for recycling. It's fun. And I don't know, I feel like I like to do landscapes a lot of the time. And so if you take your materials from the landscape, I feel like
high
it's
five
like,
to that.
a truer representation. And so, obviously the ones I've been making in Vermont, I'm making the canvases from trees I'm finding in the woods, right?
I know. And do you want me to save some bark?
Sure.
For you? Okay,
yeah,
I find
take
some
materials.
Beautiful bark that I used to work with. It's round. I haven't got any left, but I'll keep it for you from now on.
Yeah.
Because it's all encompassing, and you can do a
as like a scroll or something.
Yeah, so it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't work with that anymore. I started working with eggs.
Interesting.
Yeah, my first painting I sold, I was 19, and it was a portrait of a boy's girlfriend on an egg.
Oh, wow.
And it was her head on an egg, so I said egghead.
Egghead, that's funny.
But he was madly in love with her, and he bought it, and I thought, wow. He ordered it and bought it. Mm-hmm. And so it's been going from there, from eggs to rocks to wood to now I do plywood and doors and.
Was there one on a saw? I remember seeing
saws, yeah, and anything I can find that'll hold a base coat. Yeah. And that I can get for free.
Yeah. That's the key.
That's the key.
Yeah. So this is just something I found on the street when I was walking around one day. When I was making art in Detroit and in New York, I'd find a lot of pieces of metal or particle board, things like that. Oh yeah,
particle board.
Yeah.
I like that because it's light.
Yeah.
But I love this. It's also three-dimensional. I don't know whether you can get this, but I'm gonna.
Yeah. The
buildings are sticking out.
Yeah, the buildings are cardboard, and then the stars are also cardboard. And what I did with the stars is I had a bunch of old house paint that had gone bad. I got from someone on Craigslist, and I would like cut out these shapes and dip them in paint, and then when they were wet, I would stick them on, and then they would dry on there, and so that's how the stars are stuck on there.
Oh.
And then down here, this is all. These are all bits of encyclopedia, actually.
Are they really?
Yeah, this is all bits of an encyclopedia that I've wheat pasted, and wheat paste is just like a cheap glue you make out of.
And I love it. And these stick out.
They do, yeah.
Now, my favorite kind of art, I used to take my grandson, and I used to go myself to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, and I loved it. First time I went in there and I saw a Rodin sculpture, I started to cry.
Yeah.
I just started to cry, and then I went to other shows where I would just look at the vastness of the ancients.
Yeah.
And they were very moving, and I thought there could be nothing better. And I would just be so in awe of being close to something they had touched.
Yeah.
And then I went to MoMA, Museum of Modern Art.
I love MoMA.
No more Met for me. I freaked out.
Yeah, totally.
I totally freaked out.
Break all the rules.
Yeah, they had brought, sorry, I hurt my shoulder.
Oh, it's okay.
When I get excited. Anyway, they brought in the side of a tenement building.
Oh, wow.
And they strung laundry across these from one wall to the tenement building, just like in the Godfather movie. It was a 1920s Hell's Kitchen scene.
Oh, wow.
And it was the entire wall was there. And,
Yeah.
and I thought, I love this. And it was so liberating for me. It was the first time I'd given myself permission to actually go off and do what I felt like doing.
Yeah, it like opened
every
up
material.
possibility of like what could be art.
Everything. And the raw materials that were used at the MoMA were fantastic.
Totally. Yeah,
So I used to take my grandson. I started taking him when he was about, I guess the first time he was 3. I took him to the Met.
Yeah.
And when he was about 4, 5, I took him to MoMA. And in retrospect, I asked him a couple of years ago, and what did you like better? He said, I like the Met better.
Interesting.
I went, you're such a classic guy. You got a crazy grandma. But, that's what liberated me. And I don't need fine lines and definition. I need feeling.
Yeah, agreed.
So I was talking to you about the boredom. I find it really boring to do a million windows, but your windows are interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. It can be boring doing a lot of windows, but it's also, I don't know. I find some, I don't know, a lot of my art is like, it's like a process. I've got these like sort of systems. And doing the windows over and over again.
And they don't have to be symmetric, and they don't have to be the same size.
If anything, I think they shouldn't be. I almost feel like it gets uncanny.
That's right. Bad shoulder.
I think it can feel uncanny if everything's too perfect.
I know, and I started doing different shapes in windows, and then I still found them so boring that I was cutting up magazines and putting people in the windows.
Yeah. That's a good way to do it too.
What I do is I paint the background and then I populate it. So I paint this really pretty Vermont scene, and then I put in Elon Musk dressed as a Nazi. Like, that probably doesn't fit on 105.
No, but juxtaposition, yeah, that's cool.
But the whole thing, the whole thing is freedom.
Totally, yeah.
And you have that freedom. So should we go over and teach me how to be free?
Sure, yeah. I got a blank canvas and some supplies.
I'm excited. Okay, we're going over to the kitchen table, alias dining room table, alias the only table in my house. And we're going to learn how to do this with this wonderful young artist.
Yeah, I'll show you a little bit about my process, or at least how things get started. It usually takes there's many layering, but how things get started. And so I start with a blank canvas. I start before the blank canvas because I got to make it.
You put the frame on first?
Yeah. Well, the frame of so I go out into the woods and I pick up some pieces that I think can make a frame, and then I screw them together, and then I find cardboard that I have lying around, and I stretch it around and staple it, and so then I have my blank canvas to start with. I will add a frame later during the process, but I love
the feel of cardboard.
Yeah, totally. It's a good material.
It's a great material.
Yeah, there's so much of it.
And it's not too absorbent.
No, it's not too absorbent at all. It's actually, it's pretty good for painting and wheat paste and all of that. So I start with a blank canvas, and then I got to think like, what kind of symbols or images am I going to put into this painting? And I like to carry around a little notebook with me.
Oh, I've seen that with you before.
Yeah, just so, I'm really forgetful, and so I like to write things down so I don't forget them. I'll write down, grocery lists, homework assignments, things that I need to remember, but also write down, I don't know, like little poems if something strikes me, or I'll draw like little images that I might want to use again. And so while I was picking up this wood yesterday in the woods, I was looking out, and from our backyard you can see sort of the silhouette of Barton Mountain not too far away, and it's a real pretty image. And so I kind of sketched out like the shape of it a little bit. And I'm thinking that that's going to be kind of like the center for this painting. And so I'll start pretty crudely and just kind of do like an outline of what that might look like.
I see you use black felt markers.
I like black felt markers.
I use black felt markers for everything but mascara.
Yeah, they're super handy.
Eyeliner.
Yeah, one of the tricky things about working with like homemade canvases is you don't have like a perfectly flat surface, and a lot of time you need like two pieces of cardboard overlapping, so there's like ridges or whatever. But I think, you know, the imperfection is kind of part of the beauty, and so you work around those things. So I got to think about like where do I want my lines to be. But I think I'll make the mountain like right here ish, and so I'll just sort of, it's kind of got this it kind of goes up pretty steep, and then kind of comes down more gradually. And so I'll sort of put that, we got that. And then, I don't know, our house is like right here, and so it's kind of nice. I like putting houses in.
I put houses in just to get all of
So I might just put a little house right here. Now the beauty of this is, I don't know, I'm not the best at drawing necessarily. And so I try not to worry too much about my details because it'll all be covered up many times throughout the process. But I got my little house, we got the mountain, and then, I don't know, I like to put the sun in a lot of my paintings.
I saw that.
Yeah. The sun's, you know, it's super important. Always there. Feels good when it shines. A little bit of sun. And then, I don't know, clouds are nice too. Not too many, but little clouds. A little bit of cloud. And then I really love the little like
Birdies?
little birds, just like the like eyebrow birds, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it feels like I learned how to make those eyebrow birds when I was probably in kindergarten or something. What's it? Similar to you, I love going to art museums when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I didn't get to go to the Met or the MoMA until I was older and moved to New York.
Well,
but
I was older when I went to New York. I'm from Montreal, so I used to do a lot of that. But everywhere I went, all over Europe, anywhere, it was always for the art galleries.
Totally. I was really lucky where I grew up, though, in that Detroit has a fantastic art museum that I would say even rivals the Met or, MoMA. And it's actually really amazingly free for local people. So if you're a resident of the Tri-County area in Detroit, you can go to this art museum for free. And I grew up probably a 20-minute drive away. And it was a good free thing to do with your kids on a rainy day, so my parents would take us there quite a bit. And so
I love your parents then.
I love my parents too. I'm very grateful to them. And so I grew up, you know, seeing Matisse, seeing Van Gogh, Diego Rivera actually.
Oh, really?
Diego Rivera he's famous for his murals, right? Mm-hmm. And I would argue, we went to Mexico City like a year ago or so, and we saw a lot of his murals down there. But I would argue that one of his best murals that he's ever done is in the Detroit Institute of Art.
Is it about the working man?
It is.
Yes,
it has to be about that. Yeah, it's a whole courtyard. It's 4 walls, and he did it over a period of months. Him and Frida Kahlo were living in Detroit. And like the main sections are like the Ford Rouge River plant where they're making the Fords in the 1920s. But then there's these really like I could talk about it for hours. There's so many different like panels to it. It's really amazing.
I love his stuff.
It's so cool.
It's real humanity.
Absolutely.
And the working man, God, he does it in all his stuff. But I have some favorites of his.
Definitely.
And I was lucky enough to go to a place that sold postcards of his. And it was somewhere in Florida. I was on a layover, and so I bought them all up. And unfortunately, I mailed them out to people.
Oh, that's sweet of you, though.
No, but I'm bummed because I would like to have them now because I can cut them out and put them in my pictures to add some value to what I do. Because
that's true. Yeah.
He's so good.
Mm-hmm. He is so good. So inspiring.
When it comes to painting, you know, I'll cut anything out of National Geographic and say, yes, I can draw a beautiful native of Saudi Arabia right there.
Yeah. What do they say? Good artists borrow, great artists steal.
Oh, okay.
Picasso said that.
Who said that? Picasso.
Yeah. And so yeah, I'm stealing from all sorts of inspirations, like all of the artists that I would see in the DIA. And then the really cool thing about Detroit is that outside of the DIA, also it's just a big art city. And there's this one artist who's been working in the city since the mid 1980s, named Tyree Guyton, and his canvas is actually a whole neighborhood. And so he lives in a neighborhood over on the east side of Detroit, and it's actually, to get to the DIA, we drive right through this neighborhood where he's been working. And what he does is he's kind of reclaimed like abandoned lots and abandoned houses.
Pittsburgh has done that too.
Yeah, and it's called the Heidelberg Project, and it's like an ongoing art installation.
And it's funded probably, and he probably has tons of people working with him to make those murals.
At different times, he certainly has some funding now. It's kind of he was doing it on his own at the beginning.
Yeah.
He's kind of in a back and forth battle with the city at different times.
Have you worked with him?
I've met him a handful of times. I've not worked with him actively. He's kind of I would say a solitary individual, but if you do ever go to the Heidelberg in Detroit, you'll very often find him there mowing the grass or rearranging one of the pieces or adding to one of his works. It's like a ever evolving sort of thing.
That would be a dream city block for me to live in, to create in, to make it big and make it an ongoing project for life.
It's really interesting. And certainly the juxtaposition between the institutionalized great masters and all of that, and then going home and driving through this neighborhood where there's someone who's just sort of actively making his environment, his canvas, out of reclaimed materials, discarded objects, really kind of in the same way kind of opened up my mind about what art could be for or what you could make it out of.
You know what I miss?
Yeah.
My grandfather and I used to go to the Bromptonville dump in Quebec. They lived in Bromptonville. And open dump, fires burning everywhere, broken glass everywhere. I'd be in flip-flops and carrying a 22, and my grandfather would be. And we'd go through these, my grandmother, bullets flying everywhere, my grandmother, as we would leave the house. Be careful. But we would pick up stuff, and my grandfather would make mathematical toys out of metal.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And puzzles out of metal, yes. Yeah. And for all of us kids, so that we would be quiet. But I love dumps.
Dumps are cool.
And I love anything I can find on the side of the road that might fit into something. Yeah. And things that I would never have had in my own home. So yeah, if you know any good dumps, let's do that.
Definitely, yeah. Let us know.
Casella covers that up. I mean,
they do, yeah.
They could make a ski hill out of that. At least it would be practical. But no, we can't go in there and stick our hands into the bloody mess and pull out what we want to create.
It's true. I will say the high school actually sometimes has some interesting things that they throw out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Call me.
I check it every morning.
Okay, very good.
I'll let you know if there's anything cool.
All right, anyway, let's continue. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. It's good to have a conversation. So then I've got kind of a rough outline of what I think the painting might end up looking, and then usually I'll go and I'll do a wheat paste round. So
how do you make wheat paste?
Wheat paste is really simple.
Flour, water, and salt?
Yeah, it's just 1 part flour to 4 parts water, and then once you kind of put it on heat and whisk it up until it gets thick, and then add a cap full of vinegar and a pinch of salt. And
what happens if your paintings are gluten-free?
Yeah, they're not gluten-free.
That's good. Well, that's a really cheap way because I buy Elmer's glue. It's a gallon.
Yeah.
So you'll have to give me that recipe.
Yeah, it's super simple, and it's really popular with street artists, to put up posters and that sort of thing, and that's kind of where I learned
How
about it.
weather resistant is it?
It depends. It could be fairly weather resistant. It's not if it's out in the rain, it would eventually wear away.
Okay.
So it's not completely weather resistant. But if you're hanging something inside, for example, the City Stars one, I probably did 3 or 4 years ago at this point with wheat paste and no peeling or anything.
Okay. I cover mine with external polyurethane.
Yeah, that would do it too.
But it's still not guaranteed because that peels or chips. Or,
yeah, I mean, nothing's forever, right? Art is ephemeral, unfortunately.
Forever.
But so I've got my wheat paste here, and then I've got this coffee can that's filled with various bits of book.
Okay.
At another time, I like will take pages out of books, cut them up, and then I kind of pull them out at random.
I love it.
This is mostly kind of 1960s history books, actually. The school library was getting rid of a bunch of 1960s history books this week, and so I grabbed a couple. I think there might be one American history book in here as well. But yeah, there's a lot of and then this is kind of like the fun of it, right? So
I'm not wearing my glasses.
I pulled it out. It says Spies and Secrets. For the anti-war protesters, President Nixon called dissenters. Yeah.
Oh my God!
So it's
That's
just
an
kind
old
of
one.
It is, yeah, it's an old one. And so
I think I was there though.
could be, yeah. And so then I'll just sort of let's see. The way you do it, I get like a brush, and you prime it by putting it down. And then,
Oh, it spreads beautifully.
yeah, and then you put it down, you put another layer on top.
Yep.
So you do it like that. And so I'll probably, I don't know, just kind of go through it and like outline the shapes that I've made with this wheat paste. And then you'll have these like little bits of book that are kind of making the lines.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of fun.
I've used some quotes in mine, but
Yeah.
they're very hard to read.
Yeah, totally.
But I'm glad someone else is, well, you're doing this because you don't know if people are going to read them or even notice them.
Yeah,
But when they do, you hope they mean something.
totally. Ooh. And see, this is, yeah.
Oh, you want a knife to pull that down?
It's, it goes, it's kind of like, this is like a thicker piece.
Okay, so you can.
And it's, there's like some ridges here, and so maybe that's not the best place for that one. Maybe
You want
this
some
one.
thicker glue? Fill those gaps?
No, I just work with it. It'll work. If I have like a thinner paper, it might like,
Melt in.
yeah, it's like just a matter of like, it's got to be like malleable to get into the ridges. Let's see this one.
Oh, I love that.
You see how, yeah. There it goes.
See, I don't know whether you can see this, but I can't lift this arm, but it goes right in
Yeah.
to those. And I hadn't thought that it would do that so beautifully.
Yeah, it does if the paper's like thin enough. This one, it's like
Too thin.
thicker cardstock.
Oh,
from that
wonderful,
book.
wonderful.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll just kind of go through and plot out the, and so you can kind of see how I continue to draw it, but then I cover it up. I draw it and I cover it up.
Yours is the true outline.
Yeah, and in that way, any mistake I make is never like really a big issue, because I can always just cover it up.
So I didn't think you'd start with the quote.
Well, yeah, I'll start with the quotes, and then, I mean, honestly, it's unlikely that any of these words end up making it into the final process. They'll probably be covered up, but maybe not. You never know. And that's kind of like the beauty of it.
Yeah.
I have rough ideas of what will happen. I have like systems for how I make things, but the final product, I don't have like a clear vision of what it'll be. It's kind of like a surprise to me. And that's kind of the beauty
I can relate
of
to
it.
that.
Yeah.
The only consistent thing I have in mind, cows. I have
Cows.
And
Oh.
usually cows. I love cows and owls and mirrors.
Cows and owls and mirrors. That's
Yeah.
cool. So we got the cloud, I got the sun, I got the mountain here.
And I've just done my very first one today without a building.
Oh wow.
Yeah, my daughter gave me a tremendous number of nice little 14 by 11 canvases, which is far too formal for me. I
Yeah.
have no idea how to paint on a real canvas, but it's really liberating because they're small and you can have fun. It
yeah.
doesn't take me 100 hours to do one.
That is kind of nice.
Yeah, I've never had that experience since I was working on eggs.
Yeah.
That's
Eggs will take some time.
Well, the hardest part is blowing them.
Oh, like glass eggs.
Yeah, I had cheeks like Satchmo,
Oh yeah.
but now I suppose nobody can afford eggs.
No, they're a luxury item now. So
You say I drive an 1812 Toyota, but I have an egg. If you're looking for status.
all right, so there's a good first round.
It is.
Yeah. And so usually I'll let that dry, and then I'll probably go in with like a first round of paint and kind of put the colors down. And then once I have the paint down, I'll probably outline everything again, and then I'll cover it again with we pasted books, and then I'll paint it again, and then I'll cover it again, and then I'll paint it again, kind of over and over until I get to like a place where I like it.
How many of these can you go at once? Because I find frustrating. I only work on one at a time.
Yeah.
But when you're waiting for one part to dry, when you've got the idea in your head, it's so frustrating. I use a fan,
Oh, yeah.
you know, to try and dry things quickly so I can get to the next part.
Totally. I find that sometimes. I definitely, I find myself waiting. But, you know, it's like, I feel like I'm always sort of working on a painting. And it'll be like, oh, I'll put in a layer, and now I've got to dry, so I'll go take care of something else, you know? And then eventually I'll come back to it, put on another layer.
Well,
So-
this has been wonderful.
Yeah.
We're not going to finish the painting here today.
Not today, but I'll let you know when it's finished. I'll show you what it ends up looking like.
Very good.
Yeah.
I have something for you because
Oh, yeah.
I said I'd make a deal. I finished this one today.
Oh,
It's still
wow.
wet. I had it under a fan, but it's still wet.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's called Vivaldi Four Seasons.
Yeah. Vivaldi oh, that's amazing.
You try to throw joy into every picture.
Totally, yeah.
And you throw joy into yours. Every one
Thank
I've
you.
seen of yours, we can put that away. But
Yeah.
now you owe me a painting.
I do.
Well, here we are again. I'm at the artist's table, and I've learned an awful lot today, and I hope you have too. But more than this, let's talk about the man I'm sitting beside.
Okay.
I've only known you a little while,
Yeah.
but you and Kelly have totally impressed me with your, well, like Kelly's song, Wide Open Spaces
Yeah.
and Places to Make Big Mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you probably have most of your mistakes behind you if you ever made any at all.
I've certainly made some mistakes, and I mean, I'm sure there's more ahead of me too.
I hope so.
That's just the human condition, isn't it?
It's a human condition, and it's also the way to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And I
True.
mean, 3 cheers for the bumps in the road.
Absolutely. Yeah, we got plenty of them around here.
Oh God, yes, and potholes.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Of course, that's what you meant. I'm
Yeah.
just not catching on today. But you and Kelly met because of the Peace Corps.
We did. Yeah, we met in the Peace Corps.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about how you used to date?
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, we were both Peace Corps volunteers all the way back in it was 2018 that we went to Kyrgyzstan, yeah, we were. So when you go to the Peace Corps, it's like supposed to be like a 27-month kind of operation, and you spend about like 3 months training, right? So they send you to the country. You spend 3 months where you're just doing intensive language training, right? Because you go in. You don't speak Kyrgyz, but they're going to drop you in a village where no one speaks English. So you got to have at least, the ability to communicate your basic needs and have conversations with people. So we do an intensive language course with like small groups. There's 50 volunteers that they sent to Kyrgyzstan. We got broken up into groups of like 5. And Kelly and I were in a language class together. And so we spent like 2 months, 9 to 5, studying Kyrgyz together, making, cute eyes at each other and all that fun stuff. But the whole time, there's so much going on, we're so overwhelmed, and we don't know where in the country we're gonna end up getting placed, right? And so there's a lot of flirting, but nothing more than that, kind of left unsaid. And after that time was passed, we actually ended up getting placed on opposite sides of an enormous mountain range. As the crow flies, we were probably, 50 miles from each other. But in order to get to each other, we would have to travel all the way around the mountain. It would take like a day or two. So pretty isolated from each other. But what was it? Probably like a month or two after we had parted ways and sent to our village, Kelly called me up to, just to tell me how she felt. She had been holding it in, and she was vulnerable enough to express her feelings.
Do you think that's good?
To express your feelings?
Well,
I do.
I was raised, number 1, never call a man.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, never, ever make the first move.
Mm-hmm.
And last year I did.
Yeah, I think.
And so my face going red. But I felt completely out of body experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no idea if it, scared the person completely out of sight. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm so proud of the way you do it so naturally because it's so difficult, and you never know. But it's best to know. It's best to know. Were you thrilled when Kelly said that?
I mean, certainly it's complicated, right? I was thrilled, yeah. But it's a lot of it's a lot of like pressure and like what do we do now?
How did you react?
how did I react? I mean, I reacted positively, but also like tentatively. You know, we're far away, and it started like a slow process. It wasn't like everything immediately. It was like, you know, she shared how she felt, and I shared how I felt, and we started talking more and more. And then, you know, we would meet up in the Capitol and go on dates. And then after a while, we're like, okay, maybe we should, you know, be dating each other. And then we would, you know, sneak out of our villages to go see each other on the weekend and that sort of thing. And over time, it kind of develops and everything. But then, what was it? We were supposed to be there until like, what was it? Like the fall of 2020, right? The fall of 2020.
Yeah, and then COVID hit, right?
And then COVID hit that spring. And so we still had a few months left that we were supposed to be there, but we ended up getting evacuated. We, like, you know, one day I woke up, I thought I was going to be there for like another, you know, until the fall. And then the next day I get a phone call saying I have 48 hours to get to the Capitol before the last plane leaves the country.
It's like the Tet Offensive.
It was surreal. Yeah, it was really surreal.
So how did you meet up after that? Because Kelly's from Boston.
Kelly's from Boston. I'm from Detroit. And we both got sent back to our homes. And I spent 2 weeks quarantining at like, my uncle has a cabin in like rural Michigan. And literally my family left a car for me at the airport. And I drove up to this cabin and spent 2 weeks alone quarantining. And then the whole time, Kelly and I are talking, trying to like make our plan. What do we do next? And after that quarantine was done, I drove out to Boston, and we were there together for a while before we ended up moving to New York City, actually, that summer.
That's when the Brooklyn thing came in.
Not exactly.
Really?
Yeah, things get more complicated.
Oh, let's go.
Oh, it's a long conversation, but yeah. So we moved to New York in summer of 2020. Crazy time to move to New York.
Yes, I know.
Insane time to move to New York.
That's when I left my job.
Yeah.
I left my job in New York, and you know, got rid of the apartment and came home.
Yeah, it was a weird time to move there. I'd never even been to New York City before I moved there. The closest I had been was when I hiked the Appalachian Trail. I was on top of Bear Mountain, which is 20 miles away from the city, and I could see the skyline.
That's enough.
And that's what I thought at the time. I didn't think I'd ever go any closer.
I think every young person should live there.
I agree. It was a good coming of age experience. We lived in what do you call it? Inwood, which is like top of Manhattan, like 200th Street, kind of near the Bronx that year. And I went to NYU and got my master's in teaching. But the whole time I was there, got very homesick. I hadn't seen my friends, my family in Detroit really for like 2 years or so. And then a good friend of mine got diagnosed with cancer, actually.
Oh, did they make out?
They didn't make it out, unfortunately.
So
I know, but all of that came to a head, and Kelly and I broke up briefly. Or not even briefly. We broke up for a bit, and I moved back to Detroit to be with my friend, to be with my family. I was able to spend his last, months with him, and that was really important for both of us. And then I lived in Detroit for about 2 years working as a teacher, and that's where I really kind of honed my craft. I had sort of picked up painting in Kyrgyzstan, but then, after the devastation of breaking up with Kelly and losing my best friend and ending up back in my hometown where I started kind of feeling defeated, I really threw myself into making paintings.
I'm going to stop you there.
Yeah.
When people feel defeated, depressed, and lonely, and sad, my go-to is writing.
Yeah.
But my go-to is also now painting. But I always suggest to anybody going through that to find an artistic outlet, to have something concrete at the end of the day that expresses how you feel.
Totally.
And so I'm so glad you did what you did.
It's incredibly cathartic. I don't know. I would not be who I am today had I not been able to work through a lot of those difficult times without painting.
I really like who you are today.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I liked who you were last time you were here too.
That's good.
But then New York, how did you get back with Kelly?
So I'd been living in Detroit. We were broken up for about 2 years.
2 years?
2 years.
Oh my God.
It's crazy. But we weren't without contact. About every few months, we would end up talking on the phone for an hour or two, talking about how do we get back together. But for the longest time, we just we couldn't figure out how to make it happen. And then it was, the summer of 2023. Summer of 2023, a friend of mine in the Detroit art scene was showing some work in New York. And I was like, oh, I haven't been to New York in a while. Maybe it'd be nice to have an excuse to go visit New York. And so I called Kelly up under the pretense that I had a friend of mine's art show I wanted to see. And it's like, oh, could I crash at your apartment while I'm in New York? And so she's like, yeah, of course, let's do that. And so I drove to New York. It was like the end of the summer. It was like August. Went and saw the show. We had a lot of conversations. I think after a day of me being there, we were sitting on the floor of the kitchen of her apartment, and we're like, are we gonna get back together? And we decided that we would. And so even though I'd only planned to be there for a few days, I drove back to Detroit, and I quit my teaching job there, packed up all of my possessions, and drove to New York. I was able to find a teaching job very quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Luckily, there's a shortage.
PS 347?
Yeah, it was, I forget, PS
That means public school.
741.
You must have been way the heck up there.
Yeah, it was out in Crown Heights. Yeah, and so, that's how we got back together.
And you're both so talented.
Yeah.
And music and art. And all I can say is I'm really glad I know both of you.
I'm glad to know you too. You're incredibly talented as well. Singer, artist,
Well, no.
local TV show host.
Thank you. But enough of that. All I can say is this. We're going to close the show now. We're really, really lucky to get these young people moving to Vermont. They don't come to take over. They don't come to change us. They come to appreciate what is here through art, music, teaching, helping. And I feel extremely enriched when I talk with these people because they inspire me, and I hope they inspire you. So, Mr. Griffin, give me a hug.
Of course.
Be gentle.
Yeah.
Broken shoulder.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching Life is Good. Thank you, Kelly. I love you. Mwah. See you next week.
Rockin' Robin, 'cause we're really gonna rock tonight.